So this video took me a lot longer to make just because I didn't know what I was getting into when I decided to do this video. There are actually 22 melee weapons that you can use in Treyarch Zombies, and I'm basically going to be ranking them today on what round they stop being a one-hit and some other attributes that I'll be getting into later. And I'm only going to be including weapons that you can melee with, not that you can shoot with, because otherwise I would include the Origin Staff and they'd obviously be at number 1 because, you know, they're wonder weapons. But without further ado, here are all the melee weapons in Treyarch Zombies ranked worst to best. Starting off at the number 22 spot is the regular old knife that you start off with, because you only have one round of it being a one hit. Next at 21 and at 20 are the bowie knife and the sickle respectively. I'm putting the sickle above the bowie knife just because it looks cooler. They're both 3,000 points and the bowie knife is in more maps, but they're both a one hit up until round 10. And like I said, I just put the sickle above the bowie knife because it looks cooler. In the 19 and 18 spots, we have the Revelations Nunchucks and the Gorod Krovi wrench. These are both weapons that you get from the time trails or from completing 5 rounds in 5 minutes, in under 5 minutes I should say. And both of these weapons are a one hit up until round 11, and I'm really only putting the wrench over the nunchucks because the nunchucks are really clunky to use. Number 17 are the galvaknuckles from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4 Zombies. These cost 6,000 points and it's really not worth it because they stop being a one hit at round 14, and that's really about all there is to this weapon. It's really not worth it. Next at number 16 are the upgraded ballistic knives, and I really only put these because the shooting on this weapon doesn't do anything to improve the weapon, and I put it above the galvaknuckles because you can actually revive your teammates with this, but it costs, it costs an extra weapon slot. And this one is also a one hit until round 14. Coming in at the number 15 spot is the Silver Spoon from Mob of the Dead and Blood of the Dead, and this one is a one hit up until round 15. Oh, that's nifty. Would you look at that? Anyways, both of these processes are pretty simple for both maps. Next, at number 14 and number 13, we have another pair of melee weapons from the time trails. We have the Revelations Skull Splitter and the Gorod Malice Dagger. I'm putting the Skull Splitter at number 14 just because, again, it's a lot clunkier than the Malice to use. You get this in Revelations by completing 10 rounds in under 12 minutes, and you get the Malice on Gorod Krovi for completing 10 rounds in under 13 minutes. These are the ones where they're getting a little bit more difficult to obtain in these time trails. I'm pretty sure that at this point you have to actively try to be getting these melee weapons, or otherwise you're not going to get them. You basically have to speedrun the map. But regardless, these are both a one hit up until round 16. And again, I just put the Malice from Revelations above the Skull Splitter because it is much more fluid to use. Moving on to our number 12 spot, we have the Origins Punch, which you get from filling the 4 chests. And I found this one to be really inconsistent. Wikipedia tells me that this one stops being a one hit at round 19, but I feel like I was not one hitting some zombies before that point, so I'm not really sure. I'm just going to take Wikipedia's word here because they were pretty accurate with a lot of the other melee weapons on this list. But yeah, this is a pretty cool melee weapon that is exclusive to Origins, and it's just a beauty, especially on BO3. The ragdoll physics are top tier. Next up, we have the third set of time trails weapons. At number 11 from Revelations is the Buzz Cut, and for this one you have to complete round 15 in under 19 minutes. This one kind of just looks like a pizza cutter that is a lot more edgy. But in the next spot at number 10, we have the Slash and Burn from Gorod Krovi. It's basically just a hatchet, and you get this one by completing round 15 in under 24 minutes in that map. I put this one above the last one just because it's a lot easier to use in my opinion. I'm starting to see a pattern here, but yeah, this one is just a lot quicker to use and it's just so satisfying. But regardless, both of these are a one hit up until round 21. Next up at number 9, we have the Dead of the Night Steak Knife, and this one is a one hit up until round 26. These are the weapons where we start to get into the really tedious processes. I'm not a really big fan of this one just because for some reason I can't see the symbols on those trees. I have my brightness all the way up and I don't know what I'm looking at. No, seriously, what am I looking at? Anyways, if you manage to get through the process, it's a pretty good melee weapon. Again, it's a one hit till round 26. It's just kind of annoying to get. Next up, we have the final pair of time trail weapons from Revelations and Gorod Krovi. For both of these, you have to complete round 20 in under 32 minutes. And on Gorod Krovi, you get the Fury Song. It's basically just the sword from Shadows of Evil. And it's pretty good, but I put the Revelations Nightbreaker, which is this thing. Kind of looks like half of a energy sword from Halo. But I put this one above the sword just because I feel like it melees faster. It just kind of looks cooler, but again, these are both pretty similar. These could probably be interchangeable. But yeah, these are both a one hit until round 31, which is a pretty high round. In the number 6 spot, we have the Golden Spork from Blood of the Dead and Mob of the Dead yet again. And this one, I believe on both maps, is a one hit up until round 34. I only tested this on Black Ops 4 because high rounds are a lot easier on that map. It's not a bad process, and you get a pretty good reward, and that's why it comes in at number 6. Moving on to the top 5 melee weapons in COD Zombies, this is where the processes to get them get really, really stupid. And starting us off with that stupidity is the number 5 spot, which is the Golden Shank, or what I like to call the Infinity Knife from Blood of the Dead on Black Ops 4 Zombies. So for this one, you have to have the Golden Spork and the Hell's Redeemer, but basically after you do all of that, you have to get 100 kills with the Golden Spork, find 3 gems, and then get 100 more kills for each of those gems. So you have to get 400 total kills with specific weapons in order to get this special knife. And when I got it, I couldn't one hit any zombies. It was a 2-hit. Now I'm assuming that the 1-hit round cap, or whatever you want to call it, is greater than the Golden Spork, which is round 34. And I was not able to one-hit the zombies at round 41, which means that the Infinity Knife stops being a one-hit between the rounds of 34 and 41, which is definitely not worth the effort that you put into it. Moving on to a much easier upgrading process, in my opinion, is the upgraded punch from Origins. Now, I tested this on Black Ops 3 Zombies and it was really inconsistent for me, so I'm going to take Wikipedia's word again and tell you that the one-hit cap, whatever round, for this upgraded punch is on round 36. For some reason on Black Ops 3 it also doesn't show the upgraded like elemental effect when you punch, but again I did this because it's a lot easier to get to high rounds on this map, a lot easier to do the Easter egg, which is what you have to do. You have to get through the majority of the Easter egg, get to the second to last step, and then you have your upgraded punch. I guess it's not worth it. If you're going to that lengths of getting the Easter egg done, you're probably just going to end your game. So again, I don't think it's worth it. In the number 3 spot is another melee weapon that you have to basically do half of the Easter egg for. It's the Revelations Takeo's Katana, or the Path of Sorrows. This melee weapon ends up being a one-hit up until round 42. Now, again, for me, I feel like this is an easy Easter egg and a fun Easter egg to do, so I don't really mind this process too much. I think it is worth it, but I understand for the majority of people it probably won't be. In the runner-up spot at number 2 is the Eisendrache upgraded Plunger. And this is really tricky to do by yourself, so I wasn't able to get this to work, so I'm going to be using someone else's gameplay. Once you kill a Panzer with it, you will upgrade it for about 90 seconds, where everything is a one-hit, including the Panzers, which is really cool. I believe this goes on forever. As long as you kill a Panzer, for the next 90 seconds, you will have one hit on any type of zombie, which is really cool. But finally, the best melee weapon in all of Treyarch Zombies, it is the upgraded Spork Knife on Blood of the Dead, which is basically just the upgraded version of the Infinity Knife. Do you remember that? Do you remember how stupid that... Anyways, this means that you have to do everything that I mentioned before in the number 5 spot, and then you have to kill a Brutus with your knife on the catwalk circle area. I attempted to do this at round 41, but I died, and I'm not going to go through that whole process again. I am sorry. So I'm going to be using Glitch's gameplay because his guides helped me a lot to get the Infinity Knife and to attempt to get this. So the link to his video and his channel will be in the description. Thank you. But regardless, if you're insane enough to attempt this, and if you get this, first of all, congratulations, you are insane. Second of all, Glitch says that this weapon is a one-hit on bosses, so Brutus, and zombies presumably for the rest of your game, so forever, regardless of the round, which I think is a fair reward for all the pain and suffering that you had to go through in order to obtain it. But yeah, since it's a one-hit for presumably forever, it does make it the best melee weapon in Treyarch Zombies. What'd you think of the list? Would you have changed anything? Let me know if you liked it by liking the video and subscribing. If you're still here, please comment down below RIP or press F respects for my gobble guns, because I used a lot of them in order to get this gameplay. It would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I'm VaryenVybes, and I'll see you in the next one.